Hello, this video will teach you how to write the equation of the line in the form y is equal to ax plus b when the graph is given. Let's have a quick review. Okay, so in this equation y is equal to ax plus b, wherein a is the slope, it will be positive if the line is directed this way. It will be negative if the line is directed this way, and the slope will be 0 if the line is horizontal. Let's have an example. Okay, example number 1, wherein we have this graph of the line. We will call this y sub 1. Okay, so our objective is to find the equation of this line using this standard form, or let us call this the slope-intercept form, because b is again the slope-intercept, and then a is the slope. Okay, so first thing we have to do is to find b, which is the y-intercept. Alright, so b is where the graph passes through the y-axis. Now in this case, the graph passes through the y-axis at 0, therefore the y-intercept is 0. Let's have the value here. b is equal to 0. Again, the y-intercept is 0 because the line passes through the y-axis at point 0. Now for the slope a, now take note that a must be positive because the line is directed this way. So for the y and x, actually the slope is the change in y over the change in x. So where do we get y and x? We just form a right triangle. Okay, here from this graph you can see that y is 1 unit and then x is also 1 unit, which means that y over x is equal to 1 over 1, or of course 1 over 1 is equal to 1. Thus we have a is equal to 1. So all we need to do now is to substitute the values of a and b in our equation here. Thus we will have y sub 1 is equal to 1x plus 0, or simply x. Okay, so this is the equation of this graph. Let's have question number 2. We have another graph of the line here, this black color. Let us now consider its y-intercept. Again, this graph passes through the y-axis at 0, and thus our y-intercept is 0. So b is equal to 0. Alright, let's now continue by having the slope a. Again, this graph is directed this way, therefore we will expect that a is positive. Now we will form a triangle again, say here. Now it is important to bear in mind that we are making a right triangle such that the y will have an exact number of units. Now in this case there are exactly 9 units of y, and then x also. In this case x has 1 unit. Okay, thus making the slope y over x, or 3 is to 1, or simply 3, because 3 over 1 is equal to 3. Okay, now again, because the slope is directed this way, or the graph is directed this way, we have to expect that the slope is equal to positive. Okay, just substitute the values of a, which is 3, and then b, which is 0. Thus we have the equation of y sub 2, which is 3 times x plus 0, or simply 3x. Okay, so for the last example, we have y sub 3. Now look at the graph. This graph is inclined in this direction, which tells us that the slope must be negative. Okay? Now evidently this graph passes through the y-axis at 0 again, and therefore b, or the y-intercept, is at 0. Now for the slope again, we will form a right triangle there. Now notice that we have again the exact number of units for y, which is 2 units, and the exact number of units for x as 3 units. Therefore, the slope will be y over x, or 2 over 3, but you have to be careful of the sign because this should be negative. So the slope is now 2 over 3 negative, or negative 2 over 3. Thus, substituting the values of a and b in the equation, we will have y sub 3, which is negative 2/3 times x plus 0, or simply negative 2 over 3x. Okay, we are going to have more examples in a little while. Thank you.